Second. All those in favor? Aye. Public comments. What we would like to do tonight will be a long couple of days, I think, for Tom, so we'd kind of like to get the meeting over and done with. Just so everybody's got that. Sandy? Public comments?
I was wondering what happened with the Board of Health meeting that...
We had some things that they didn't line up with people, everybody being around and stuff. Hopefully it'll be right after the first of the year, so everybody can be back around. Jane?
Yeah, I was wondering if you could develop a email distribution list for people who are interested in being notified of any open meetings that are going to be held, instead of having to run around town and find out. Just have a sign-up list and people who are interested could be notified.
I think that would be reasonable.
That's all I have.
Mike? Anything public comment? Boards and officials.
Nothing. Do you want me to do the budget meeting stuff? There's a sheet of paper that I just handed out that's 2 articles, draft of 2 articles for the town report. One of them is for a capital reserve fund for emergency use. Asking the town, shall we establish one and fund it with $5,000 to begin with. The budget committee has also talked about doing some work writing policy for the various reserve funds that we have. And so we thought that was something that we could take a stab on next year and talk about things like, you know, what the cap on that capital reserve fund should be, and what the use of that money should be, and sort of doing the same to break down the use of the equipment fund to the replacement schedule that we've all discussed as well. The second article.
Now, I was just wondering about the first article there. Should we have it emergency or town share of spending? Just take out the word emergency. Because if it's not declared an emergency, but we have, is that going to hold us up being able to use that in certain things?
But the capital reserve fund has to be, there has to be voted on. There has to be a specific use for that money to be voted for, but the people have to know what it's being used
Yeah,
for.
no, I understand, but if it was something that we had to buy and say there wasn't a culvert got washed out or something, we had a flood a few years ago up on the end of Reed Road there, but that wasn't a declared emergency by the state. Would that then prevent us from using that money out of that to pay our share of it?
But how other towns have used to do it is you're authorized to pay whatever bills that come through, whether you have to borrow a loan or whatever. And then you'll have to go to the voters, and then this is how I've seen it in other towns. They voted to use the money out of the capital reserve fund to pay for whatever use they've had to use that money or want to use that money for.
That's a state that has to be declared a federal emergency.
No, but I'm just wondering if that will hold us up with that word in there. It's fine the way it is, but I just didn't know if anybody knew or...
At least this is my understanding from VLCT.
If they said that was fine, that's fine, I think. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, the second fund is to establish the fund for long-term highway projects. And so this would be a fund that what we think is the best way to do it is to roll the current culvert
fund into, like, basically rename it and begin to add earmarked money to that for other projects such as guardrails. And so this article asks to do that, roll the money forward from what's in the culvert fund, add the money to it that's budgeted for the culvert fund this year, and additionally add $2,000 to start saving for a guardrail project in that fund. And then that way, you know, as new highway projects come up that we know will take multiple years to save for, we can start, you know, like a sub-line within that fund to start putting money in.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the other thing, I think, from the budget committee is there's a combined budget report and next year's budget as it stands today. It says comparative budget report at the top. So this isn't the year's final budget report yet, because we still have one more payroll happening next week. But I highlighted a couple of things in here as far as this year's spending and also revenues. So on the second page where the yellow highlighting is the total revenues. And you can see we're about $30,000 ahead in revenues from what we'd expected. And you can kind of look down through the line items to see where that, some of it's delinquent taxes, some of it's the state grant, some of it's a refund from school taxes. And then you see on the last page where we're over budget by about $10,000 at this point, but because of that extra revenue, it's still showing that we have a $20,000, you know, it's not exactly a surplus yet because we still have another payroll, but we're not in the negative for the year.
Yeah.
So that's just a nice thing to point out. And two things that are different for the 2018 budget. Darlene and I saw the new health insurance bills, and they're just slightly higher. And so the budget for health insurance for our highway employees went up from $30,000 to $31,000 to cover that increase. I just made that change today. And then we also, as a committee, added $5,000 total, which was $2,500 per highway employee to cover comp time payouts in the next year, which is something that we've neglected to do when we set the budget. So other than that, nothing should be surprising. And
So
there-
is it all complete? Have we got the figures in that Tom needed for the road up here? For the, we was all look into that, but we have that in the, we have that in the fund, I believe.
$259,000 for the blacktop. We already got the culverts, so
What is that, 259,000?
that's what it's gonna cost to blacktop that, for the blacktop for that road.
So we need 10% of that, or?
I think it's 10%.
Yeah, but they're only gonna give us.
They're gonna give us
170.
175,000. We gotta come up with the rest. But you got 94,000 already. You have another.
Plus another, what we put in there? Is there,
match.
is there, there's six, is it 60,000?
Yep.
So we should have enough for that, so. I was wondering, do we want to have a special meeting the first part of January to do the warning and finalize the budget so that we can have it all together and we can sign off on it at the regular meeting? Or do you not think you need to come to another meeting, say early in the year, to finalize the budget and make the warning up before the regular selectmen's meeting? Do you think we could use that?
We have our regular meeting scheduled for the second Monday, is that the 8th?
The
January.
budget committee meeting, yeah.
Budget committee meeting. So we're gonna have everything pretty much buttoned up by then.
I mean, I think it pretty much is now for budget-wise. When do you have to like approve everything for the town report?
It has to be in what, the 25th of January.
So you still have another select board meeting?
We have one
For
meeting,
that.
but I was thinking have one, get everything finalized and then have it for that meeting, just to approve it at that meeting.
Is there anything outstanding in here that you think we need to look at?
I'm not sure that there is. I'm not sure that the budget committee needs to be there, but I mean, if you want to just come to it and
Or we could just meet start our meeting a half hour sooner and just have it, first thing is just a budget discussion, right? We just get it over with. We could do it that way, or we can have another meeting, I don't care.
I think it'd be good to have just another meeting,
Okay.
give us like a week or so, and then if there is any questions, anything coming up, or any wanting article that we need to work on more, so we won't be racing around. Is that reasonable with you? Is that reasonable with you to say maybe the second Tuesday, and then give us a week?
Tuesday or Thursday?
Thursday, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say Tuesday.
Yeah, that's gonna.
Yeah, not Thursday.
So the second Thursday?
11. At what time?
7, is that good?
I don't think I would be able to make it personally, but I put it on the calendar.
So, yeah, let's do it that way. Let's have it, we'll have a special meeting on Thursday at 11. Is that good with you, Tom?
January 11th at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Do you want to make that a motion?
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
For budget purposes and any other business
And the warrant.
in the morning.
Yeah, yeah, budget in the morning.
All those in favor?
All right.
All right, anything else?
Either of you guys have budget committee or Janet? Am I forgetting anything?
Okay. Don?
Let's see, 3 hats tonight. One of them is high school stuff. We found out at our budget meeting last night. Says that just recently came out, our common level of appraisal this year is going to be 109.26%. It's slightly up, which is good. The higher a common level of appraisal, the more it drops the tax rate a little bit. The statewide tax rate. The estimated dollar equivalent yield is down about $300. I'm living a very manic life, and I left the house this morning. I left all my notes at home, so I'm kind of going off memory on some of this stuff.
Well, the common level, that's for Athens, or is that for the whole district?
No, this is Athens. No, we rejected the unified district thing, so each town has its own common level of appraisal. Okay, $1 in education taxes last year was, oh gosh, it was over $10,000, and it's 9,000 something. It's about $300 less this year. That's largely the effects of, last year the governor tapped into one-time reserve funds to hold down the tax rate a little bit. Well, this year those reserve funds are not available, so we're going to see the effect of a higher statewide tax rate. On our high school budget, the increase we're looking at is mainly things. Our portion of the supervisory union budget. The supervisory union now, they handle all the special ed, different programs under special education, and those are the hardest to predict, because you're in the middle of one fiscal year and you're trying to guess what the individual education programs and different intensive needs are going to be a year from now, and that's always and so the wild fluctuations in what we budget and what we expend is mostly due in those areas. The other thing they're doing at the supervisory union level this year is doing away with the food service vending contract, and they're bringing food service in-house. The goal is not to save money. It's actually the goal is to increase the quality and nutritional value of the food being offered supervisory union wide. The high school's share in that is $58,000. What the overall supervised union figure is, I'm not sure I recall, and that's a number just to make sure that I guess in the past I used to rely on what kids paid for lunch and grants you got for. Anyway, the estimated Athens share of the high school portion of the ed taxes appears to be about the same, even though our spending per pupil is up. The way it sorts out is we seem to be about the same amount. Out of your education tax, a certain portion that is K through 8, a certain portion is high school, and the high school portion looks like it's going to be about the same this year. So that's it on the school. Cemetery Commission met this past Wednesday, December 13th. I'm just getting this to help her out. We did acquire our own federal ID number, and I'm asking the Board of Selectmen's support in two things. Asking the Board of Selectmen to support the commission in two areas. One is to reacquire control of its own warrants, and the other is to pursue reinvesting approximately $11,400, the total of what's held in 2 CDs right now, which originally was from it was acquired from the Athens Valley Cemetery Association when they turned their assets over to the town for stewardship. Now we have 5 commissioners. One was absent last Wednesday, and David Bemis recused himself of this vote. This was something that passed with 3 votes, and it's something we'd like to do. I was asked to check in with Vermont League of Cities and Towns, but I was not able to do that this past week. So we can kick around. I'm sorry. The amount that's the 11,400 plus that's in the 2 CDs. We've consulted with LPL Financial Services, and we'd like to pursue doing the investing through them. They make the type of investments where we'd be receiving dividends and
they estimated about 5%.
They estimated about 5%.
When the assets from the Athens Valley Cemetery were turned over, that was in stocks and some cash.
Yeah, it was some stocks and cash totaling about $20,000. Part of that was in a checking account. The other were in stocks. In the early part of 2008, prior to the crash, as I now understand it, a bank changed ownership, and a town treasurer was told to liquidate the stocks. Did I get that right? What I didn't realize, unfortunately, now that it's 10 years later, was that there are other types of investments that municipalities could be making. I wish we could have reinvested when the market was low. Right now, it's, as I said at last week's meeting, it's stupidly high right now. It seems like an unfortunate time to invest, but LPL assured us that, you know, they're not going after high-risk investments. It would be, trying to recall what, you know, what was said, but it would be,
It'd be a balance.
they would manage the portfolio in a way that, you know, we would hopefully avoid some wide fluctuations and have, like, again, having dividends rather than just counting on the market price for this year for investment from up and down. So as it stands now with the new accounting system, the Board of Selectmen have been signing the warrants for this. That usually previously used to be signed by the Cemetery Commission. We've had a very slow year. The only expenses have been the Ivor Stevens grounds and maintenance, and even then, as chairman, I missed the type of system where I was writing the warrants and giving them to the town treasurer. That way, I had real-time accounting as to, you know, what money was going out, and I kind of missed that this past year. So these are the two things that we would.
I have a question.
Sure.
Since you have your own federal ID number, would you be able to take over your own accounting?
No, I think that the commission was going to have the town treasurer do.
Yeah, our intent was to return the relationship with the town treasurer that we had before. If we decide it's a good idea to go ahead with LPL, that the chairman of the commission and the town treasurer would be the two people whose names was on that account.
Doing your own warrants, does that take it out of the NIMRIC system the way we have it now, or you just have additional? Because right now, you don't have an account, you have a fund in the big picture, so I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, Chip Stearns, when we were first going into the system, and I raised the question of, you know, we're elected officials charged with stewardship of these funds. His issue seemed to hang up on the federal ID number. I assume that the NIMRIC system would allow for what we were doing. I thought the hang up was the federal ID number. I don't know the details of all that.
I think the federal ID was an issue, but I think you just want to be sure also that the Vermont statutes support the select board not signing off on your committee's warrants. I'm not sure. I mean, it seemed to me like it was more a legal thing that since it's taxpayer money, I mean, all of the other committees, all that have their own funds, are also having the select board sign off on expenses as well.
Mr. Chairman, we're not really a committee. We're a commission of elected trustees, and there's a distinction there.
Yeah, I mean, would it be hard if everything checks out that the Cemetery Commission can do their own warrants? Will it be hard on them to have that in there specifically?
I'm not exactly sure how it works. I wasn't assistant treasurer before the current system. I mean, they don't have their own checking account at this point, so if they want to write their own checks separate from the town's checks, they'd have to reopen a checking account and have the town write them, you know, sign over that amount of money to deposit in their own checking account. But I mean, I just assume that then the town wouldn't see what goes on from that account. I mean, if the select board's not signing the warrants, I mean, the town would just be giving you the $3,000 or whatever it is a year, and whatever else goes on.
Well, it would
Wouldn't
still
you
be
see-
audited by the auditors, it would still be in the town report. Is my understanding, right?
Yeah, there's there are issues. I don't know all the ins and outs of what I'm asking. If in order to do this, the town had to start up a whole separate NIMRIC program, then that would withdraw my request. But
I think we need to go to VLCT and get some legal advice.
Well, do you think we'd be able to get that done for the January 11th meeting, the special meeting?
What's that, VLCT?
Yeah. To get it.
Well, that may be pushing it, because you know, the holidays and stuff, who knows who's working.
Well, by next month, we should be able to get it in once, shouldn't we? Don't we think?
I'll get an email out and see who replies back.
Is that good enough, Don?
yeah, if you, I could send out the email if I knew who to send it to, but
VLCT,
just
and then you just, their legal office, and it's whoever happens to get the message at the time, they start right, they either send it out to whoever is in that field, or they'll immediately tackle it.
I think it's something, the MAC Center, I think if you look on their website, there'd be
Mac Center.
MAC, M-A-C.
Okay, you still have the same email, Mike? And
Yeah.
and dates, etc. on it?
For Montel.
For Mon-
that.
Okay, anything else, Don?
Do we need
Uh,
to,
yeah.
excuse me, do we need to check with the NIMRIC people about the easiest way to go about transferring their funds? Or if they open their own account, you would just switch all the money that's in that fund to?
I think then it would just be up to Don and the cemetery commission to get the town whatever accounting stuff is needed for the town report. I mean, it's,
We don't issue the funds anyways, it's going to be the select board.
Yeah. No, but I think we were wondering about whether in the program, if they'll have to have a whole nother set, or can it just be as it is now, just a section in there, but then the cemetery.
Well,
I thought this was going to be a whole separate thing.
Well, he wants to write his own checks, and it's gotta be removed.
Yet, it's not even in the NIMRIC program.
yeah, I don't think unless he's,
It's out of the town's hand.
exactly.
We're just, the only thing you got is the town auditors are auditing it,
Yeah.
and then just reporting on what's in the town report.
That
Yeah.
that portion of it I saw is I didn't see us having our own separate checking account. I just
Well, we would need one. The cemetery commission
Well,
would need
before
one.
the NIMRIC, we had 26 checking accounts.
Yeah.
And we audited each and every checking account.
Well, let's look into it a little more, and we'll come back January meeting and go from there. How's that?
Sounds good.
Okay. Anything else?
One more hat. I went ahead and I came up with a draft of an article for Athens Town Office. It's
Don, you gave us.
I'm sorry. And this is just something this is just a starting place. The draft is to see if Athens voters will authorize the Athens Board of Selectmen to expend up to $115,000 to complete renovation projects at the Athens Town Office, and to borrow up to $77,000 financed a period of over blank years to meet said expenditures. And on the second page, I have an old format of what accounted for the $115,000. because this is the only version I had on my computer at work, and you see I have a bunch of scribblings on there. The first portion, volunteer remodel projects, that's 6,500, is still like a proper number. Legal and permitting. Let me back up. The article is 115,000. The loan amount is 77,000 because we have $38,000 in the bank now. 30,000 balance from prior receipts, and the 8,000 was the state grant. That's specifically for the vault, and they'll be looking our way in August to see if that money had been expended, or for if we have a date established for when that money will be spent, if it will be spent. If we can't, if an article doesn't pass to do the project, the 8,000 will have to go back. I have another. It's over 14,000. It was something like $14,300 grant, which I have with USDA out of their Brattleboro office. It's not like a USDA construction grant. It's an equipment grant, which I was told I could do for the vault and the and the heating system. And the 14,300 was the match, the 35% match on the total cost of the vault and heating system combined. And I don't think we'll know before town meeting whether we have a shot at that grant or not. But because it's not a construction grant, they're not going to be looking to us for to have an architect or engineer sign off on the progress. So. The section here that says TOV/Town Athens Advanced Work for the Shed Project. I have legal and permitting. I have $3,500. The permit itself will be about $1,000. So that number right now looks like it could be $2,500 high. A little further down, demolition machine time. This is when we had to rent or subcontract a backhoe. And so that. Now that we have our own backhoe, that $2,400 is not needed. So if I were to stop there, we'd be $4,900, maybe $5,000 too high on that $115,000. We're going with the most expensive of the heating system options right there, and that's a whole other conversation. I won't digress on that right now. To go with the heat pump with backup heat option is again, I have my notes at home. There'd be $4,000 to $5,000 less expended there, and we wouldn't have to rebuild the chimney, so we'd save $1,500 there. So all the possible savings could be as much as $11,400. So the 115 we might argue maybe to be safe, maybe say 10,000 high. It's possible the board may want to keep that 10,000 in there since our estimates from the general contractor are almost a year old. Or it's possible that we could choose to bump that figure down a little bit. So if I haven't lost you, that's where we're at.
All right. Well, we'll probably take this up to January 11th,
Okay.
and we'll go from there. Is that what you want to do?
Yeah, I guess I should say on the heating system, I had a lengthy meeting with Mike Martin over HB Energy, and I did kind of an OCD heat loss calculation for this building, and I thought he was running kind of roughshod, and I didn't think he was up to date on what our goals were for insulating the building. But his roughshod method was almost a direct match with me on the energy consumption, which shows that he's a professional. He knows what he's doing. And we talked about different units. With oil at $2.29 a gallon, and with And with electricity at 16 cents a kilowatt hour, the operational costs for forced hot air oil furnace or heat pumps with LP gas backup, it's a dead heat. It's almost identical operating costs per year. If we went with a gas furnace, the operating cost, the installation would be a lot less than an oil furnace, but the operation cost would be almost double right now. I forgot what he had for price of a gas, but you don't get as many BTUs out of a unit of gas as you do oil. What I was not able to resolve was the comparison and comfort level. Forced hot air, we'd have floor ducts and various sections of the building, and in the 3 adjoining rooms, storage room, bathroom, actually the utility room wouldn't count. But these would all be controlled by one thermostat in one particular location of the building. The heat pump option would be right directly in back of David and Tommy, that section of wall in between the 2 buildings. You'd have a heat bump with a backup LPL gas furnace over that. The heat pump would be effective down to 30 degrees. I mean, we looked at a different unit, maybe 20 degrees Fahrenheit without that oil furnace without that gas furnace having to kick in at all. And then we figured, we looked at average heating days, per year, and we came up with a figure for, what the estimated cost for running the backup gas would be. It's a question of, and the thermostats would be right on those units. So it's a question of, Darlene sitting out here, will she be as comfortable with the heat pump and blowing air across the room versus the furnace, and I don't have an answer for that. Mike has said, no matter what kind of system you have, you're standing next to the window, you're going to be having the sensation of the energy escaping through that glass. And, either way, small electric baseboard in the bathroom is advisable in case the bathroom door was accidentally closed. You'd want to make sure you had some heat in there to keep the plumbing. One of the advantages of the heat pump is we have what is now a utility room would be an extra space, conference room or whatever. So it comes down to the question of what the comfort level would be. So that's where Sandy and I have a contact for Women at Efficiency Vermont that may be able to help us with that.
Okay.
Yep. That's it.
All right. Anybody else, anything for boards and officials?
No, I just have a quick question. Does your price include any rebates for the heat pumps, or no?
He did figure in what the rebates would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because when I talked to Efficiency Vermont on the lighting, and I mentioned that we were possibly going to go with heat pumps, they said that there was rebates as well for heat pumps.
Yeah. I'll double check, but we talked about so many things that day. I'm pretty sure, you got this at such and such price, and this is the rebate, and what the net price would be.
He said depending on which size you got, there's 2 different sizes, and one size would be around, I think he said around $500 rebate.
Oh, I'd have to go back and check on that. We talked about a lot of different things that day.
Rebate for a 2-ton or less would be around $600, and a 2-ton or more would be around $800.
I haven't heard that term.
I spoke with Chris at Efficiency Vermont for the lighting.
Chris, okay.
Yeah. I have a direct number for him if you need that.
Okay, get hold of me.
802.
Why don't you give it to him later, so.
Oh, okay.
All right, anything else for boards and officials? We'll go on to appointment for the meeting house. Have you gotten the written resignation?
From,
Beth Ann
I
Agustin.
don't believe so.
Well, we were told that she has resigned, and that there's, do we have any names, anybody come forward with that wanted to? From the
No,
posting?
no.
You had expressed interest in that, Dennis?
Yeah, I talked it over with Sherry, and I'd say I was willing to fill up the remainder of Beth Ann's term, which is 2 months, 3 months left.
Yeah. Dennis, but why would you want to get on that when a year ago we were talking about tearing the thing down and getting rid of it?
I never talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
Well, you might have, but that was not my position. I thought it was a part of history of this town. Why would I want to
It
tear
is
that
part of
down?
this business now.
Why would I say tear it down? I think you're mistaken, Tom. I do.
You and I talked about that a good bit.
You might have talked about it, we might have talked about it, but that was not my feeling at the time, and it isn't now. So I really believe you're mistaken.
I don't recall any of that. I wasn't for tearing it down. I have a couple of concerns, Dennis. They may be resolved here by next month. I don't know, but I have a couple of concerns that I'm not sure I can vote for you to
What are your
fill in.
concerns, Dave?
I just have some concerns, and I'll leave it at that at this point.
Well, why?
That's
Shouldn't I
all
be
I'm-
able to respond to your concerns?
As I say, I just have a couple of concerns that I'm not, they may all be resolved by next month, and then
How are you gonna resolve it?
they may be resolved. I don't know.
Well, I think that's unfair.
I'm just concerned that I can't vote for you. That's my opinion.
But I think it's very unfair that you would have concerns, you would express them in an open meeting, and you will not allow me to address your concerns.
I haven't expressed what the concerns are, and I don't plan
That's
to
my
in an
concern.
open meeting. But we can say that I'm not sure that I can vote for you at this junction. I cannot.
For what reason, though? I don't know why you're gonna be so secretive about it.
Just,
You're almost like accusing that there's some misconduct or something,
Yes,
but
I'm
you're
not
not
accusing-
going to allow me to address that.
I'm not accusing you of anything.
Well, you have concerns. Well, and you should be able to voice them. And you should voice them. Does anybody else have concerns?
Not at
You
this
want to
time.
talk, I don't really care.
Do you make a motion
I'll make a motion.
to appoint Dennis?
Yeah.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any other nominations?
The only thing I question on, can we really do this without her, without a letter from her? We're doing this on hearsay.
Well, we have the word of the chairman of the committee that she resigned. I will take her at her word. That's the case. All right, all those in favor?
Right?
Right.
Those opposed? No. Dennis is going to appoint it. And that will be until March. And then, does her term end in March?
Yeah.
So then it will be up anyone's, so. All right, we'll move on to roads.
All I can tell you, everything's fine. We just got the big truck back. We had to have a air dryer put on it. Everything else is running and we're just waiting on Mother Nature to see what she's gonna do.
An air dryer?
Air dryer, yep.
Big truck. Okay. All right. I put down town office, to do with the security here. Don, you have ordered the new lock set for out front.
I did. We should have received them a week ago.
Ordered a completely new lock.
I'm sorry?
We ordered a completely new lock.
It's called a lock core. We keep the doorknob we have. We just put a different core in it.
All right, as soon as we get that, I'd like to get that in place there. And I was also wondering, on the file cabinets here, how many of them lock and how many of them don't lock, and how can we secure the things here better?
I think they all lock.
It's a matter of having keys for them. And sometimes if we have keys, they lock and unlocking becomes a problem.
I think if we need to get a locksmith in to work on them, or even if we have to get hasp or something on them, I think we need to get these so that the file cabinets are secure.
Yeah, because I think those 2 filing cabinets, we only have 1 key for the black one. And the black one has an issue with the drawers closing completely in order to use the key too.
I would make a motion that we try and get hold of a locksmith, and if they fail that they can't do that, then to have some hasp or something put on each one of those drawers there, so that if the locksmith can't do it, you think you could get that done?
There's a vertical slide bar that can be attached to those that with a padlock that would keep them from being able to open the drawers.
And I think that we need to then have it just be the town clerk, the assistant town clerk, and assistant town treasurer, and town treasurer too, have keys for the locks. Is that reasonable?
Well, the auditors need to get in there, and they're here when none of those other people are here.
I think
So they would have to make arrangements.
with Darlene, and that she would pull out the records and she would know what records were out and what things were where. Is that reasonable with the auditors?
Yeah.
So your motion is to get a lock, to see if you change the lock on the cabinet?
Yes, to make sure that they all lock, and that the listers files, that you keep them locked if you can.
I don't have a problem with those. I mean, those are public information. They
Yeah,
have to be
it's-
accessible at all times, so.
Pretty much all this is public information, but I
Yeah.
don't want things walking off from here either.
Well, we've never had a problem with anybody. The worst problem we've had is me mislaying a file.
Files get mislaid.
Yeah, but as far as people going into them and taking anything out, we've never had a situation with that.
Well, I don't want that to be the case, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and I don't believe we have a key for that one.
Well, that's what I'm saying, if we can get that changed out somehow,
If it makes people happy, fine.
and that,
I-
the listers have control of that, and
Yeah, because, yeah, I don't think anybody ever asked Darlene for lister information, do they?
Yeah, we have lawyers and stuff always.
Well, yeah, the lawyers and stuff, so yeah, but if it was the same,
if Darlene
chair of
had
the
a key-
board of listers and Darlene and,
But I would like to make sure that the records and things are all secure, and
okay,
that we can be confident in our records not walking out of here.
all right.
So is that reasonable? And to make adjustments with the auditors when they get in anything, and you don't have any trouble with that? The auditors?
Our drawer's on the bottom.
We can change that.
Huh?
We can change that, there's plenty of.
Put it in a cardboard box?
No. We have other empty drawers.
All right. I would just like
And
to,
I don't think, I mean, as a budget committee, we occasionally look at some of the records, but,
Hannah would have a key anyways,
okay.
right?
Well, you're the assistant treasurer, so.
And that if records go out of here, that Darlene knows about it, or Sandy, or anything like that. Is there any discussion on that?
Would we put the same lock on all the cabinets, or you're gonna have to have individual keys?
You think you can figure that out, Don, if we need to get a locksmith, or if we can get those locking
I wonder
mechanisms?
what a locksmith would cost, because it would be a better way to go than doing the vertical bars and padlocks. I could price the latter option. You can get padlocks with interchangeable cores like this doorknob, a little more pricey. But you could have the same core for all three padlocks.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt to contact the locksmith and let him know, you know, we have a dozen file cabinets.
Look at it.
Don, would you be willing to spearhead that up about getting them either a locksmith or the things to do the sides?
Well, I'll warn you, I'm not going to have much of a life for the next month, but yeah. I've tried to get locks repaired. I'll answer a phone call before. I'll try a little bit harder.
Isn't there one in Jamaica as well? D&M?
I don't know. Big Lock's the only one I've ever heard of.
I think there used to be one in Jamaica as well. If not, just let us know and we'll try and figure something else out. I'll make that a motion that we do that. Do I have a second? All those in favor? Aye. Warrants and mail.
I got it.
Hey, Don, here's that phone number for you. Oh, I got the warrant.
Which one? No, I would,
She sent me one.
And there's this here. I don't really know what
this is, I didn't draft it, that's the gallery home. There is another blue element out there. You have to look at the back of it. If the back is covered with stickers, it's really yeah. No, Don does that. There's another one down in Brattleboro. He doesn't know how many times he waves, and then he sees the back end of it and realizes, it's not me. No, I don't wear that. I don't wear the baseball cap.
When they were there.
We don't really go out walking. And sunglasses and not having one, all of a sudden things go.
Slaves there, yeah.
We saw him passing. He told us he used to ride. I don't do it.
can send you an email summary of what I said.
You can order it right out.
About the budget. Just like usually do shoot me an email to remind me that I'm just
Change the pens in it, make it a key. That's all.
Yeah.
Pens are not pens, and it just, that's all they do. They just
Who would I
pens.
take it to? The first call I made was
Get married on a www. Care of it. Actually, all Hershey's can do it, you know, the Valley. It's just changing the pins. That's the
I did start a new file with the purchase price and
That's what
all the same.
like the loan paperwork is what you're missing.
I got
Yeah, so that wasn't that. That was
That's what
the
oh, locksmith,
you put
that's all
the
he's gonna
photocopy
do.
of the yes.
Yeah.
No, we didn't find the loan thing.
He said like 10 days ago, yeah, we didn't have one. I thought that was gonna
oh, it's at the
They don't
bottom.
have their own locksmith?
Right here. That's because it's automatically taken.
I know down in Denmark, they should have their own guy with all theirs.
We did, but we never retrained anybody after that guy. But we just-
Especially if they store straight walk.
Yeah, well, it's $15-20 combinated course.
Several pages.
Several pages. The last page.
And it should be 9:40, 10. Perfect. Nice job.
And that was December payroll too. So
Okay.
we haven't heard anyone December.
So,
There's two of them.
yeah, and,
Yeah.
yeah, but there's two separate.
Yeah, but it is one check.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
It's a long time ago. Involved in those three. That's what
Three fires in 2 weeks. It's crazy. Brookline. Yeah, it's better.
Yeah.
They don't think he's gonna make it, he's just Boston.
He's still in Boston?
Kidney failure.
$70
From the fire?
90% brother.
But Tina's was 75%. She survived.
Yeah, they say you take how much you burned, and then you add your age to it,
Yeah.
and that's your mortality.
Oh, really?
That's a rough estimate. So
She
she was
was
one of them.
75.
And so she got 75, so she had a big chance, but she took 90 and 70. That's a good drive. That's a drive.
46. And then this one here.
I had the imprinted Stephen Moodle on my check.
That's a tell.
Where you at?
I had all my clients.
Yeah.
That was the Android, you ever got the Android one, they just did that today.
Okay. but I didn't get this one yet.
Oh, that's on this.
Another one, got it.
Sandy, you put this.
They're out.
Right. And then you do these two yet? And then it's sent, no, Joe, it's on.
Yeah, that'll be on the next page.
Right, I'll get you.
Because it's actually the, it's more work at CLA to stay home.
Well, I mean, they're getting used to the coefficient of
Yeah. But, you know, we're working on the keeping it CLA at a good level. So when I retire in 2 years, then it can go to hell and I don't care.
Yeah.
Then you get a reappraisal. I mean, I am a mean person. I know it. 2 more years.
Even though we paid
I'm done being a listener.
For all that time, they just
yeah.
screwed up.
I'll be 65, I'll be old.
I think it's probably just about when you start charging that's when it will start going down.
If I
Yeah.
stop acting like a 12-year-old. My shoe size is not 12, it's 8.5, so at least I'm acting older than that.
Hey Tom, did you get that invoice that I called you about this morning?
I got an idea.
Yep. Hannah has these figures.
Yes. This was adding the backhoe.
Okay, to the insurance.
How much that up at?
128.
3 total cars.
And that is unemployment.
You pay that to BLTC?
Yes.
Even the one
I
where
thought you paid that directly to the state.
little ones. Actually, a lot of them, but
Page 2.
I was young and stupid, so.
Didn't we do retail already?
We did, why is there 2?
No, you
Well, I was
didn't.
drag racing with a friend.
No, we did the amount of
You said.
No,
I did say I meant electric bill.
60 feet into the woods.
You should buy everybody candles for Christmas.
Then I'll buy increase my homeowner's insurance.
This guy has mine.
In town.
Have we got any money back? Because I know they've been in town.
From 5, we have last month, we had $533. Yeah, that's that one.
Yeah.
And then that is the, federal.
It was fun being young and stupid. I'm glad I lived through it.
And this is the program that Limerick people said we should. It's this one they told us to get.
I'm not sure, this is one we've always had, so. I'm not sure if they don't get it.
Are you sure it's on the new computer?
Well, I like fast cars. That was for sure, because my mom had a fever.
Somebody adjourned. I know for sure that they had.
Lovely. Yes.
And it's funny because this is one of the ones, the school I do
And
a
I've
picture.
been on a motorcycle, but motorcycles. No, and, I do.
So was there another mail?
20-year-old.
What's this thing here?
Yeah.
1-ton pickup. Love that thing.
All right, we will move on to an executive session. Judy, do you have that?
Where premature general public knowledge would clearly place the town of Athens at a substantial disadvantage.
That on the legal matter.
I'll second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Okay, go out and
Get chilly.
What's the reason for the executive session?
Legal matter.
Legal matter.
First, I need that little thing, 'cause